Someone knows this book? For sure, the Dutch people. Okay. So good morning. And to start today, Jensen would like to begin a story. It is from a book my mother made me promise to take learnings from when she passed away not long ago. And since then I have studied it relentlessly. And every time I read it, I discover something new. It has inspired me to the way we envision our future as an insights and analytics function. Because as the little prince stated, straight ahead of oneself when cannot go very far. On the first night, I fell asleep on the sand. 1,000 miles from any human habitation. I was far more isolated than a shipwrecked sailor. Can you still hear me? Yeah? Okay. On a raft in the middle of the ocean. So you can imagine my surprise at sunrise, when an odd little voice woke me up. So this is the first time the author of the famous book, The Little Prince, encounters this persona. So for those who have not read the book, I might want to give a little bit of a background, because it's by no means a children's book. Actually, it's written for adults, but has a storytelling manner. So the author of the book describes how he, after a plane crash, ends up in the desert. And there he meets this peculiar little prince that comes from a different planet where he dutifully takes care of his rose and volcanoes. And this little prince has traveled around the universe and has visited planets and people. And every new planet and every new conversation holds lessons and food for thought. So coming back to reality, we sort of had the plane crash too, happening in the last years. The world has been upside down. So if there's any moment to change, any moment to challenge this status quo of how we do things, it is now. And I do hope you too feel that urgency, and if not, after this morning. So today I would like to take you on a journey and look at how we can impact this new future. First, we will have a look at reciprocity as a data currency. And there is a conversation between the prince and a businessman that we will take inspiration from. Next, I will give an example on how we can real-time influence and predict the future with humanized insights. We do need to take the guesswork out and draw very clear pictures too. And at last, with a new world comes new rules. So again, we will look at the prince and a synergy he has with his rose and have a takeout on responsibilities. So the prince describes, as I said, a conversation between him. Ooh. Back? Ha, perfect, thanks. Between him and a very, very busy businessman. And this businessman is sitting on a planet counting stars. And then the prince asks him, "Why do you just count stars?" And he replies, stars on a piece of paper, and then I put it in a drawer and lock it with a key. So then the little prince answers, a little bit wary of such use of numbers and taking it as an exercise of no real importance. I myself own a flower which I water every day. I own 3 volcanoes which I clean out every week. It is good for my volcano and good for the flower I own. But you are of no use to the stars. So the reason the little prince feels he has use to his planet is because there is an interaction between him and the things around him. He takes care of them as much as they give him joy and a sense of meaning in return. So let's think about these stars, rose, volcanoes, if they were all human beings. And ask yourself, if you, your team, or your company would not exist, what vital part would the world miss? Are you in the business of counting stars? Or are you here to make the world a little bit of a better place? What is your reason to exist? Not for yourself only, but for everyone out there. So for now, I will assume none of you have the ambition to just count stars. So then comes the next question. What is the best way for interacting with your roads, volcanoes, with people? Because with the accelerated, digitalized manner we nowadays connect, comes the biggest scarcity of the future: human interaction. At a certain moment in the book, the little prince said, "One feels rather lonely in the desert." And a snake he encounters replies, "It is actually just as lonely among men." But what if we could have data enabling this human interaction? If we would connect to people as if they would be our friend, learn about them, share goals, be there every step of the way. And the future is then to interact and rethink consumers as being individuals. Because they are not just entities that consume shiny new tech stuff that we build in our factories. They are persons that look for ways to improve their lives and give a sense of meaning to it. At this day and age, practically every person builds an ocean of data around them and shares it, either conscious or without realizing it. And I have seen with sad eyes how data scraping has become a big trend. It has the risk of lacking context, and it entails a very one-way stream collecting. It's like counting stars. So I would like to challenge this status quo and rethink data as a currency that can actually flow in a two-way stream. I call it the principle of reciprocity because it enables a direct interaction between a person and a company in the most hyper-personalized, engaging, and responsible manner. People nowadays very well know the value of the data, and we care for them as human beings, each on their own unique planet with unique needs. It is our reason to exist at Philips. So I would like to show the results of a project we just finished. And for this, we gathered insights by means of reciprocity, and it resulted in a repositioning of our vision and solutions for Philips event. It's around the ideas that all families are unique. And our reason to exist is to be their ally, anywhere, anytime. And we don't sugarcoat reality, because they have told us directly how the world looks like, the ups and the downs. So for us, they're all unique roses, all unique human heroes. Cute, right? At the very beginning of the book, the author describes how he, as a child, tried to draw a picture of an elephant being digested by a boa constrictor. And it looked like the upper picture. And then he asked grown-ups if the picture scared them off. And the grown-ups laughed a little bit and said, why would a hat scare anyone off? So he cited and drew picture number 2, explaining the details. And he concluded, grown-ups never understand anything by themselves. You have to explain things to them time and again. Well, we have to admit we are grown-ups too. And we are actually in the business to take the guesswork out. So we have to paint clear pictures as well. So at this day and age, the access to more data than we can possibly count is increasing fast. And of course, also at Philips, we see that. And not only because the data outside the company is growing so fast, but also because we have changed from single consumer products to big connected ecosystem that look into providing health and well-being, physically and mentally, to a lot of people. So all this data makes our data scientists, of course, super happy. I once heard a joke about the logic of data science. So bear with me, I'm not that good in jokes. So if this is a deer, wait, let me put this down. If this is a deer, and one shoots past the deer on the left and past the deer on the right, on average, it's dead. I'm not sure if that deer agrees when it sort of walks off happily ever after, right? So what do we learn? We find out that just data or just star counting doesn't always provide us the right insight or keep us guessing. So what would happen if we use the principle of reciprocity to paint the full picture in detail? In our researches, we often use quite an extent of types of research techniques. So co-creation, we have real-time data tracking, validation, AI, practically everything that you can imagine in very quick learning loops. And there's no set order to this because all questions need different solutions with regard to research. And the use of a mix of researches is not something new, of course. What makes it different is that we do this as much as possible via the #1 pregnancy app globally, powered by Philips Event. Millions of families interact with us as part of their daily lives, multiple times a day. And they look for an ally to be at their side during one of the most important moments of their lives. So we uncover all the details with them, paint that picture together on a continuous basis. And because of the reciprocity principle, we don't see them as panelists or consumers, but as people. And when engaging with them, we give back hyper-personalized support that directly impacts their life, be it by predicting possible pregnancy risks, empowering them to navigate complicated health systems, giving them peace of mind, or simply adding fun to their journey. So it is data as a currency at its best, and I call it humanized insights. They are derived from direct and real connection with people and based on uncut reality. So this enables us to be the first in understanding and predicting future needs and trends. We can real-time develop the solution, but also adjust them to the currents of fast-changing tides. So key for this, within Philips in the MI&A team, I have my own budget and can orchestrate my own research programs across the many centers of expertise that provide insights. This enables to try out new techniques, learn fast, test, and set up cross-category projects. So the freedom to innovate in research is important to get the best result and ensure impact with our stakeholders. Well, talking about internal stakeholders, they're a topic on itself, right? So, in the book, the little prince encounters a geographer. And it's a guy who sits on the planet and he maps out all the valleys, the mountains, the cities, the rivers. He's super busy, so he doesn't have time to wander around and browse the area, so he never leaves his office. So stakeholders can sometimes be a bit like geographers. So for this, we have a few things in place to enable them to keep touch with our humanized insights. First, we have implemented a very cool knowledge management system. And it holds all the insights that we gather in one place. So it has an AI, and that enables Philips people around the globe to have these insights at their fingertips, anywhere, anytime, on any topic. Second, we have implemented a global consumer connect program. And what happens is that stakeholders who would normally actually only look at numbers sit down and have a conversation with people. So this provides an empathic context, because as the little prince states, those who understand life could not care less about figures. And lastly, in partnering up with stakeholders, we adjust the lens constantly. So it's possible because we have this mix of researchers, so we can tap into different layers of details always. For the last topic of today, I would like to go back to our friend. On his planners, he really takes care of this lovely rose. So he waters it and he puts a glass shield over it during the night to protect it. And he misses her when he's on his journey across the stars. and planets. And that shows us that she has a meaning to him as well. And there's something very symbolic in this, right? He looks at his rose as being unique in the universe. And even after he has visited a garden full of roses, he finds his the most special one. Because he has invested in her, takes care of her, and she does the same in her own way. But there's a consequence. And at a certain moment, the prince meets a fox that actually explains it quite nicely. It is only with one's heart that one can see clearly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. It is the time you leveraged on your rose that makes your rose so important. For what you have tamed, you become responsible forever. You are responsible for your rose. Today, we often have a war of third parties between us and our families, agencies that provide back aggregated data results to us. So the responsibility for a big chunk lays with these agencies. But in a changing world, with a future of direct synergies and reciprocity, comes consequences. Responsibility. That is a big word. So let me ask you, what do you think will be responsibilities that will be accelerated? Or maybe new responsibilities that will come with a new future if we decide, you decide, to not just count stars. So with this food for thought, I want to thank you for coming on a journey with me this morning. And I hope I have extended the wish of my mother to gain inspiration from the prince and his refreshing perspectives. Even little seeds of thought can alter the meaning of ordinary things and change visions of what it means to exist in insight's world, how to exist, and why. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you. And a beautiful set of slides. Absolutely fantastic. So much. Now, I wrote some questions down, but do we have some questions from the audience or from the stream? We have one there at the back.
Thank you very much, Anna. That was great. I'm going to try and use your analogies and metaphors to ask my question. You talked about sharing the love with your stakeholders / geographers. So obviously that's democratization of the data internally. But how are you ensuring that you're seeing the snake and the hat together, sort of ensuring that you're painting with them and going on that journey to add the color and the depth so that they're seeing the right picture?
You mean that they both have sort of the bigger view and the details?
Yeah.
Is that your question?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think, as I mentioned as well, every stakeholder has different needs, right? So some just need a lot of data, and some need a story like this. Especially if it's CEO level, they actually want to see how we're going to win, what data points, what button do we need to push. And when it's more for a creative agency, they want to have the feeling in it. So I think there are two ways. One is how I partner up with them. That makes it very different, so which meeting I'm in. and I just pull out different insights. But it's all based on the same backbone. And that has this knowledge management system where we have more storytelling ways on certain topics, but we also have the really hard data in. And that makes it, for me, very easy to just cherry pick whatever comes up, because it's always under the same umbrella. Is that answering? Yeah?
Sorry. Just reflecting on what has been asked, how do you structure your team in order to have these different, I would say, capabilities, storytelling, really data fact? You mentioned the data scientists. So how do you make, and you mentioned as well that we have, depending on the questions, there are a lot of ways to answer in terms of methods. So how do you deal with that?
We have 5 different centers of expertise that really have a super in-depth knowledge. So that can be data analytics, data science, can be primary research, and they're really skilled then in all sorts of primary research, can be brand trackers or competitor insights. So the specialists are there, and then it's up to me to connect the dots and make sure we answer the strategic questions throughout the programs that we design for all these centers of expertise. Yeah.
Thank you for absolutely fantastic presentation, Stefan from Butterfly.
Into insight.
The film you presented reminded me of a brand film we did 10 years ago when we repositioned Nutrilon for Danone in Russia. And Danone wanted also to be a partner, a trusted partner. And now when you look at the landscape, Philips, obviously, but it's all the Danone and the Nestle, it's all the technology brand, it's Apple, it's Google. They all want to be that trusted partner. How do you build that unique partnership? How do you build that unique relationship that make you the trusted partners at a time when noise is absolutely everywhere?
I think we are to some extent already, because we connect to these people through the #1 pregnancy app in the world. So they are already invested in us and we in them. So I think by means of that, because we facilitate that app, we are a trusted partner already. That makes our lives a little bit easier compared to focusing on shoppers buying your products in store. I think that's the big difference, and also that enables us to have this synergy with these families.
How was it doing your first presentation for 18 months with a live audience at a conference in another country?
Yes, like feeling home again.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes. I missed it.
Well, thank you. Oh.
Just a really basic question. I don't know the book, but I'd love to. Can we just share the link or the context of
Sure.
I'd very much like to look at it. Thank you.
It's actually, I think, the global #3 most translated book in the world, after the Bible and then something else big. And not because kids read it. I mean, kids can read it as well, but I don't think they really get it. Yeah.
Anna, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Your mum will be very proud.
Oh.